Hello, it's Chaplin73, and you're joining me today with another artist. Today's artist is Non Gallagher. Hello, Non.
Hi, Darren. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I last spoke to you in 2021, I think it was, which was quite a while ago, on my channel. And if people haven't seen that interview, it's still available on my channel, if you just click on the link on my playlist of artist interviews. But it's really good to catch up with you today, Non, and I'm just really intrigued as to see what you've been up to over the last couple of years.
Well, back in 2021, I had a few things upcoming.
Hmm.
My first Upfest was applied for, and I did get it, and I painted it Upfest. That was such an amazing experience, by the way.
Brilliant.
It was nothing like I imagined it, and it was everything I was expecting it to be. And it was just brilliant meeting loads and loads of different artists, and going to the pub and just sitting down, chatting to people, and just talking about painting and meeting people that I'd only seen on social media. That was amazing. And then after that, I did a few other things. I did a paint jam in Stokes Croft when they
Hmm.
repainted Yellowface, and I met Stinkfish, and he's such a nice guy. He was so sweet, and yeah, loads and loads and loads has happened. And then in 2022, that sort of flew past a bit. Lots of things happened there, and then last year I did sort of moved away a bit from paint jams
Hmm.
and street art and started putting work up on walls and doing exhibitions. And
Right.
I'd done a few sort of like put a painting in here and a painting in there. And we'd done like loads of online exhibitions because, of course, with all the lockdown and everything.
Yeah.
So last year was really when things started to properly open up. And I'd started off about this time last year. We just opened at down in Tenby Museum, and
Hmm.
that was something to do with Extinction Rebellion and National Gallery of Wales and everything. And that was about global alternatives and things that were happening around the globe. And we were to choose from our work, we were to choose a particular thing that affected the way the way we are affected as a global community. And I chose to concentrate on war
Right.
and refugees because the movement of people, the enforced movement of people, is actually a great political problem in a lot of countries. It's something that is highlighted even in the UK that, we've got to stop people coming over here. Well, you've got people who are so desperate they need to get in a boat and go across the English Channel in something we wouldn't even use on a British beach.
Yeah.
You've got to question why they're in that position and what's caused it. So that's what that part of the exhibition, my part of the exhibition, concentrated on. And I had a few interesting pieces there. I did a painting of Banksy's big statue in the Bristol Museum, the Paint Pot Angel,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that was painted in UV paint and glow in the dark paint. So under different lighting conditions, that completely changed. And if you go onto my Instagram page and find it, it's actually got the daylight, and then it's got dim light, then it's got night light, and then it's got UV light, and you can
Oh,
see
wow.
how it all changes. And it's something I started to experiment with last year, was how different paint reacted with different light. But we'll
Hmm.
get onto that. And then another one I had was Run for Your Life, which was taken from a still of the video of the four boys that ran onto the beach in Gaza, which of course now is really relevant.
Hmm.
And they were taken out by snipers. And it's a tragic story, absolutely tragic story. But there was a still that I honed in on because the figures are so blurry, and I painted it back in about 2019, 2020. So it's quite an old painting of mine.
Yeah.
Um, but as I was hanging it, I looked at it and realized that what I thought was a little rock in the beach is actually the bullet entering the child's head. And it was really quite, oh my goodness, that's it. It suddenly dawned on me what I'd painted. And I'd never even realized in all that time. And the painting's got quite a reaction.
Mm.
and I had a small sculpture which was a piece of the partition wall, the apartheid wall,
Right.
that Morph Brooks had sent me to decorate, and I painted a figure. He had the Christ's head on it, which I think is in part of the wall itself, and it's a protrusion. It's something that somebody's put on. So I painted a hand over it and some cherubs. And then in the opening, tragically, somebody bumped into it and it fell off the podium and smashed on the floor. And everybody saw there was this gasp of silence, and I sort of stood there and went, that's my piece of work. And I could sense that there was like, everybody turned and looked at me. I said, well, if only the big wall was as easy to break as that.
Mm.
And there was this, oh, wow. And I thought, well, I can't fix it. I can't do anything with it. So I just sort of, you just go along with it, really. So now it's in 4 pieces. I
Mhm.
can't glue it back together. And next time it's shown, it's going to be in those broken pieces, because that's the story of the work that happened. You know, there's nothing I can do. And actually, I think it makes it more poignant, really, in that it was broken. And if only we could break down that wall, you know, and part of the point of war, if we could break down a few walls and barriers, you know, it would just make things so much easier. And I also had the triptych of Paddington Bear, who's drowned, and there's Piglet, Eeyore, and Winnie the Pooh, and then the Snoopy and Woodstock. And they're 3 pictures that go together. And they were originally done for Darren's money art
Oh
gallery.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was the first gallery that ever asked me to put work into it. And I was so proud of that piece. And they were painted on 3 Turkish Lorassi. And so I just did those onto big canvas, and so that means quite a lot to me, because it was one of my first early pieces, and I felt it was quite a poignant piece, and it came from the first ever Inktober I ever did, where I posted the little sketch of Snoopy and Woodstock drowned on the beach, and it got a massive reaction, and it was the first time I started to understand how important social media and feedback was. And so that was the picture that developed into 3. And now it's developed from small little pictures into bigger pictures. And you never know, one day it might be on a big wall, you know. But yes, so that was the exhibition I did a year ago.
Mhm.
And at that time I was also prepping for my solo exhibition, which was called Solo.
Right.
And I did that under the name of Vibe, because Vibe is what I use when I do live performance painting, which is where I turn up to festivals and literally people walk past and watch me paint and watch me draw and talk to me, and I interact with them, and we you know, we do workshops and everything, and that's all done under the name of Vibe. And it's good, I think it's good to keep it slightly separate from the non part, because the non part does, I don't know, slightly different work, more sort of child related, more sort of illustrative, whereas Vibe is all the dancers, like you can see behind you.
Mhm.
Um, and they're full of life, and it's all to do with house music and raves and everything. And I love doing that. And because I'd done a couple of festivals with the local breakout gallery, and we'd done a couple of outdoor exhibitions, they supported me. Arthur very kindly supported me to do my first solo exhibition in the Joanna Field Gallery in Milford, in the Torch Theatre, and it's funded by Welsh Government, and it's a quite a prestigious gallery in West Wales. In fact, it's probably the prestigious gallery outside of Oriel Park in St David's. So it is really quite a big gig, and
Mhm.
I had one of the most popular exhibitions they've ever had there. They had people turning up to see it. We had people calling in from all over the world wanting to buy the work, and then finding that it didn't quite work that way with the way they've got the gallery set up. But you know, we managed to get around a couple of things, and it was really successful. It was on for a month, and it was, yeah, it was just mind blowing. But doing a solo exhibition It's very different from doing a group exhibition. When you do a group exhibition, you choose 4, 5, 6 pieces, and it's normally on a theme. And people are there to talk to you about it. When you do your solo, it's literally you on your own, and you've got 55 pieces of work, and you've got space for 40, and you've got to choose what goes into the exhibition. Then you have to choose what goes where, what sequence you put it in. Do you do it all color related? Do you blend it? Do you put a big one over here, a little one over there? Which way do you do it all? And in the end, what I decided was because the previous summer at Westival, I'd done the 4 times of the day. So I'd done dawn, midday, evening, and then nighttime. I decided to do 24 hours of a rave, which was basically what my work was about. So we started off with dawn, and then moved through to sort of like the morning bit, and then middle of the day, and then had the big paintings on the back wall. And as we got in towards the evening, and then the paintings got darker and darker. So you had the daylight background going into the darker background, and also the dancing changed slightly. And it was, when we finished it and we looked at it, it was like, wow, ooh, this is my exhibition. And then of course the opening night, and that's when you have to make a speech, and you spend a whole week in filthy clothes, you know, painting up, patching up chips on the corners of all the paintings of the frames and everything, making sure everything's right, photocopying and printing and getting the posters up, and suddenly you've got to stand there in your nice clothes and say thank you to everybody who's come. And then people expect you to talk about your work, and it's, wow, yeah, I've got to talk about how this is all sequenced. And I just got into the flow of it and just talked about what I'd done, how I'd done it all, and the evening flew past. It was incredible. And you know, the thing about, it's a really important thing to do. I can see now why big galleries say, oh, have you done any exhibitions? Have you done a solo? Because doing that solo is so important to your development as an artist. You can keep painting in your studio, you can keep painting on walls, but actually choosing pieces of work from what you've got and putting it together in a coherent sequence is a completely different ball game altogether, completely different mindset. And it's something you really have to get your head around, and it teaches you really to be very self-critical and decide, you know what, I'm actually going to leave that one out because I don't think it goes well, I don't think it's good enough, or I think it doesn't fit in with the theme we've got, or whatever, you know. But there we are, I got through that. And had a little bit of a breather of about 2 weeks before we started getting into the paint festivals then. And then there was another exhibition down in Narberth that I had to put a couple of pieces in. Then another exhibition in St. David's, they wanted a couple of pieces. So I was working sort of 12, 15 hours a day, just trying to come up with ideas and painting last summer. And it was really tough. It really was. And then doing Westival, which is 5 days in a wet tent, with blokes who fart, and it was dismal weather. It was absolutely atrocious. It rained all the time. In the end, we gave up trying to paint outside, and we took easels into the domes, and we were just drawing and painting in there, which was great. It's great fun. I mean, I love painting live, and I love painting in places where people aren't expecting me to paint, and don't expect to come across artists as well. And it was great having a chat with people and drawing them, and then them coming over and going, oh, look, this me, and that's my friend, you know, and taking their photos next to my work. It was wonderful. And meeting people as well, and talking to DJs and stuff. And it was just really great fun. I love doing Westival. It's a really tiny festival, but it's a lovely atmosphere, and it's a really happy place. It's a really nice, happy festival, and it's full of teenagers and young people from mainly Bristol universities, actually, and Bath. And they just come down to Pembrokeshire and have a really good party for 4 days. And it's on this year, I think, in the end of May or the beginning of June.
Right.
So it's not in the middle of July anymore. It's a little bit earlier. I'll check the dates and I'll tag it onto this interview. But yeah, it's worth going. And Goldie Looking Chain are playing this year.
Oh wow.
I know. I am looking forward to it. And then what else did I do last year? Oh, August.
A rather small exhibition in London, I believe.
It was a tiny one. It was no big deal at all, really. Getting 6 giant sized paintings down to the crypt in Euston.
Mm-hmm.
And it was curated by Tracy Watt, the
Mm-hmm.
Resurrection Selective. And I'm not gonna lie, I was absolutely cacking it. I was so nervous because these are all fine artists with massive reputation.
There were some big hitters there, I did see on the lineup.
Big hitters. And then there was little me in my alcove at the end with my little rave going on. And yes, it was. I'll read out the list, shall I? Shall I just read out the list? We had Tracy Watt, obviously the curator, who did a fantastic job, absolutely amazing job, and it was a brilliant lesson in how to curate an exhibition.
And she has got a phenomenal amount of work that she produces online that I see quite regularly, and the detail is amazing, and the stylized.
The standard is
it's just phenomenal.
She did her paintings. When you see them on screen, it doesn't prepare you for just the proportions. I mean, her paintings are massive, they're huge, and they are the most incredible details. And her eyes, particularly the eyes on her figures and on the creatures as well. She uses the crows, the parrots, and everything. The eyes are just absolutely intense. And her painting of Lapinus was just, it was gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. I mean, yeah, I absolutely love her work. Really love her work, and the colours and are just incredible. And actually, I did another exhibition with Tracy, but we'll get on to that. But yes, so Tracy curated it. And we had David Mealing, again, another phenomenal artist, absolutely amazing. His paint's like a photograph, unbelievable. There was Anna Schellberg, John Gathercole, Sal Jones. Oh, beautiful, beautiful paintings. Ira Troge, Louise Bird. Louise Bird's paintings, again, photorealism like you would not believe. Absolutely incredible detail. Her painting of feet, and you've got little crinkles in the skin that you just think, oh my God, they're incredible detail. Mia Harris, her beautiful, beautiful little paintings and really delicate little sculptures. Unbelievable. Oh, and there was this fella called Mason Storm.
Yeah, I think I've heard of him, yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of him as well. Yeah, he was there, you know. No, actually, I have to say, looking at those huge, giant framed ones, you know, the ones that he got, the frames, I think it must have been from a reclamation place or something, from a convent or something. They're absolutely, for a church, absolutely amazing. Actually spending a week being able to look at those in detail and just see the skills, absolutely amazing skill. I mean, I was completely blown away. Such an amazing painter, and the just the images and they're absolutely gorgeous. It was an absolute real privilege. And then Ben Udan, who does the glittery paintings. Oh, they're lovely. Oh, they were lush. Kevin Gavigan, and Andy Downs, of course, we know really, really well. I've done a couple of things with Andy, and he's based down in Southend. I'm just gonna take my scarf off because it's falling off. It's supposed to hold my hair in place. Stop it flying in my face. And Andy's based in Southend, and he does adult classes and stuff. Absolutely amazing artist. And again, I was in an exhibition with him again back in December.
Mm-hmm.
And that was down in the sidings in Waterloo.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, the Resurrection exhibition was, yeah, it was proper contemporary fine art stuff. And there was me with me day glow paintings and the UV lights and a little bit of music on my phone, which I'd managed to get to go in time with the lights, so that it all changes. Again, if you go onto my Instagram and you look for it, 6 paintings, and they're all in a shape like that, and you click on the video, you will see how they all change with the color.
I do remember seeing it at the time, yeah, on your Instagram.
Oh, they looked amazing. They looked absolutely amazing. And it was just a complete fluke, because when I turned up, Tracy actually apologized because my little alcove had very little light going into it. We had one spotlight that could just about reach it, and it wasn't really working. And the alcove was painted black. We didn't have time to change it. So I just went round Tottenham Court Road looking for a DIY shop to get some lights. And I found in Ryman's they had a sale, and they had these lights that you put up, you know, the ones you put behind the wardrobe and stuff to light the wall.
Yeah.
They're like ambient lights. And I got them back, and we worked out how they worked. You had to fold a bit back on itself and then switch them on and then do the color sequence. And the color sequence was just, oh, wow, look at that. And it went to UV light. And I was blown away. And to see my work under those conditions, it actually completely changed it. And there was one painting that I wasn't even going to put up. I just thought, I'll just take it. If we needed to fill the space, I've got a spare painting, whatever. And I put it on the wall. And as soon as you put the lights on it, it just came into its own, and it actually looked the best out of the whole lot. So there is another lesson. Never, ever misjudge your work. Always think, do you know what? Maybe it'll work in a different way.
Yeah.
Try different lighting with it, and you just don't know what's going to happen. But yeah, that was just a phenomenal experience, and being able to get to know those artists as well. It was just mind-blowing. It was brilliant, and I'm so grateful to Tracy for giving me that opportunity. And also I met Jerry Laffey as well, and I adore Jerry. He's so lovely. We've had lovely chats about art and stuff, and yeah, meeting one of my heroes, it was brilliant. It really was. It was an amazing experience. I loved it. And then I went from there up to stay with my son for a couple of weeks in Manchester, and ended up at the Banksy exhibition up in Goma, and got up to a few little bits of mischief there, had a whale of a time, where one day literally turned into a holiday. I mean, you know, it was brilliant. And I have to say that exhibition was an incredible exhibition. It was like a working technical detail. It was the stencils, and not just the stencils, but actually seeing the very personal things, the work desk, the cutting mat, the knives and the blades, and seeing his tools, and the childhood bedroom. And just really, it's the first exhibition I've ever felt that you actually get to know the artist.
Right.
And you feel like you've been on a journey with them. I don't know, did you get a chance to go to it, Darren?
No.
Oh,
I went to Bristol Museum and I went to Dismaland, but I didn't unfortunately get the chance to get up to.
Glasgow was a long trek.
Bit of a trek from Cornwall.
It is a bit of a trek. It's a bit of a trek from Pembrokeshire as well.
And from what I remember of the queues at Bristol Museum and the queues at Dismaland, it's a long trek for a long queue, isn't it?
It's a long trek for a long queue, on the out chance that if you don't have a ticket, you might not get one of the 50-day tickets.
Yeah.
I mean, we were lucky when we went up early in the summer. We did manage to get the tickets, but the second time, I mean, it was because a friend of mine had won them in a raffle. So it was, yeah, it was just an end of term treat, really. And it was brilliant. It was an amazing exhibition, art exhibition. It really was. And hats off to the people who put it together, because the building of it, and even the security, they were all really cheerful. And it was the last day, so it was like a real end of term atmosphere as well, and quite a laugh. And meeting a lot of Banksy fans, and it was just really nice talking about art, literally just spending a whole day talking about pictures and paintings and drawings and arts. It was really amazing. But I'm going to pick my bit of paper up.
So your work since then has gone stateside, I believe.
It has, yeah. I've got a small exhibition in Buffalo that not a lot of people seem to know about, but that's with Jess, who looks after NOLA. And he asked me to do that when he was over last year. He asked if I'd put a few pieces in, and that's based on war. And he originally was asking for the stuff that I'd had in the Tembe Museum, but unfortunately they were all different sizes and everything, and packaging them over to the States, especially big pictures, gets really expensive. So I basically scaled everything down to sort of A4 size, packed it all up in cling film and then in cardboard, and 6 weeks later it arrived in Buffalo. It just about got there in time for the exhibition to start, which told me that when Christian spoke to me, rang me and asked me to put stuff into Denver, I pretty much just went through what I already had and tarted it up a bit, finished it off, and sent it as fast as I could, because this whole 6-week postage thing was just getting ridiculous. And he needed that in the middle of November so they could curate it properly to open on the 1st of December. But yes, that's still ongoing, and that's in Englewood in Denver, Colorado, with Rising Gallery. And they're brilliant, those guys. They've really put together a lot of the British urban artists and a few American ones as well, and put all our work together, stencil work. And there's loads of other artists. Robin Parks has got stuff out there. Never Work. Let me think. DNZ has got stuff out there. His first exhibition. And yeah, it's going really well. From what I can understand, it's going really well. And hope they carry on showing our work. It's really good to have a foothold out there. But not only that, I think that the wonderful thing about art is that we should share it internationally. We should share what we've got, because it's wonderful to see Mexican art in London, and it's wonderful to see British art in India, and it's wonderful to see Australian art in Canada. The whole point is here's a taste of our culture and our take on this world that we live in, and this is the way we see it, and it's right that we should be sharing it. I do get a little bit naffed off when you see posters for exhibitions for local artists. Well, local artists can put work in their window, they can stick it on the local wall. It's getting it seen somewhere else that's important.
And if you look back through the history of art, that's what's made art progress, hasn't it? It's different styles being seen by different people in different parts of the world, and then them doing their take on it. The whole graffiti scene and street art scene has progressed around the world, in different places. There's pockets of fantastic skills.
There's a book being written at the moment that about Malcolm McLaren, and how in 1981-82 he went over to New York and he brought back the Scratch record and Buffalo Gals, and that video was one of the first times that actually Scratch DJing and buffalo had actually been seen in the UK, and he literally transported it over here. It wasn't down to him for doing the whole thing, but without his input, actually, it may not have happened in such the big way that it did. So that was art, that was fashion, that was music. And the whole thing about Michael McLaren was that he was very holistic. He looked at the whole thing and the package that he could sell, you know, and he did that. And that's exactly where it's important. We've got to share what our cultures are, you
Yeah,
know, break down all these barriers and everything. You know,
yeah.
it's really, really, really important. Um, now
And
more than ever.
I think art can break down barriers, and I think that that's
Yeah,
really important. You know, but art brings communities together, and it can be used in many different ways,
yeah,
politically or
yeah,
non-politically. You know, but in
yeah,
ways of bringing people together, and I think that's the great thing about art. That's what I love about art, and I love the sense of community.
yeah,
I know you were saying earlier when you went to Upfest and you got to hang out with all the artists and go for a drink or whatever. That's what I like about the paint jams, is the
yeah,
fact that, you know, you bump into all these people who you don't see from one month to the next, but you see them all at a paint jam. You know, I walk through my local town and I see less people that I know than I do when I walk through Bedminster at Upfest. You know, it's kind of,
yeah,
I bump into loads of people I know in
yeah,
Bedminster at Upfest, but you know, in my local town, I don't know that many people, and that's the community, isn't it? That's the community aspect of, it's a very
exactly,
wide spread community, but at times art brings
exactly.
everybody together, which is
Yeah,
fabulous.
and you make friends for life. I mean, you know, meeting Stinkfish.
Hmm.
What would be the chances if you weren't involved in something like art of meeting a Colombian artist who literally paints under the line? I mean, he's got to be really, really careful, and you know, he's very strict about no photographs of his face because you know there's a lot of problems.
Hmm.
Um, but it and just understanding stuff like that. I mean, yeah, you know, we all sort of complain, oh yeah, you can't take a photo of my face. But actually, you know, we don't face what they face. We
No,
really don't. You
no.
know, I mean, at the worst, what's going to happen? You get arrested and charged with criminal damage. At most, you're told to pack your bag and move on. You know, I mean that the most common thing is, you know, if you don't pack up now, we will take all your cans away. I was like, oh, it's all right, I'm off, you know.
Yeah,
It's completely different ball game. I know we complain about the police a lot, but you know, we don't live in countries where we would literally disappear.
yeah.
You know, for painting our opinion on a wall. Um,
Very true, very true.
and you know, we've got to be grateful for that. We really do have to be grateful.
I just want to pick up on a little bit that you said earlier. You mentioned Leek Street.
Leek
Um,
Street. Yes, I did the exhibition in the sidings,
mhm,
which is just at the back of Leek Street. You sort of come out of Leek Street at the front of Leek Street. You've got like the big archway. You come out the side of there, walk past the pub, and you
mhm,
walk into a door. And what happened was that the Waterloo station had the Eurostar terminal, and that then moved to St Pancras when it was while they were building St Pancras. I think this was all to do with the Olympics or something. Anyway, this area was a dead area. It's now being opened up as retail space.
all right.
And Mark Craig, who's the artist in residence at Leek Street, negotiated to take over 3 massive shop units because what they wanted to do was bring in footfall. So people would have a reason for walking past it, and they're opening this up as an art gallery. And so for the whole of the month of December and January, we were in these 3 big units,
Right.
and there was 43 of us in there, including Tracy and Andy and quite a lot of other artists, and DNZ as well.
Mhm.
Did his first British exhibition there. Absolutely phenomenal piece. He got the most amazing reaction from it. And it's just incredible. But it was this piece behind me here. They all
Yeah.
had to be 1 meter by 1 meter.
Right.
So trying to carry that on the train through train strikes and changing stations and everything was a bit of a nightmare. But it was, yeah, it was so worth doing, and it's a beautiful. I loved it. I loved that painting, and I had COVID when I painted that, and I was literally doing like 5-10 minutes and then going back to bed for an hour, and literally summoning up the courage to do it. I don't know how I finished it in the end, but I managed to get it done, and yeah, it looks all right. I think it looks okay. I'm
Yeah.
really happy with that. Um, and that's based on the break in Underworld's Born Slippy. So
Mhm.
where you've got the intro and then it builds up a bit, and then you have this huge bang of music, and everybody literally leaps in the air. And when they do it live, all the lights go on and it's really bright. That's that second.
You
That's literally that moment where
you can see the energy in that piece, that that you get from that song. I know the
oh,
song
thank
well, and
you.
it's and you can see the energy in that from the hair and the movements of the hands and everything. It's just like
Oh,
you know that moment where everybody breaks into life. Yeah.
oh, thank you so much. That's such a lovely thing to say, Darren. Thank you. And then, of course, in the last couple of weeks, I got this through from Mr. Parks. Where are we? Where am I? Oh, that of
While you're looking for that, Non, I'm going to bring you back to something you mentioned. Oh, yeah, your sticker. Yeah, you've been made into a sticker. Yeah, I was so chuffed when I got made into a sticker. I
I know. So what? Sorry, what were you going to ask
I was going
me?
to bring you back to something you mentioned in the last interview, just to wind this interview up because we've only got a couple of minutes left.
I
Um,
know.
in the last interview, you mentioned that you might start picking up clay again. Have you had any time to do it?
The only clay I can honestly say I've picked up is mud. I do. I have
And
been
that's just
known
at
to
the festivals,
lumps of mud and draw on the walls with
right?
it, especially when actually one of my friends was really stressed out. This is going back to last summer, and we were out for a walk and we came across this pristine white wall that the council had just repainted after getting all the graffiti off it. And I said, just grab some mud and we'll draw some pictures. And they were horrified. And I said, come on, it's really good fun. And that's exactly what we did. And we spent an afternoon drawing pictures with mud. And it's so liberating. And the thing is that nobody can tell you off for it because you just wash it off.
Yeah, yeah. There's an artist called Richard Long. I don't know if you know of him, but he does work with mud on walls. So it's definitely a thing.
Oh, oh,
I'm
oh,
going to wind up the interview now. Thank you very much for your time this
thank
evening.
you.
We got there eventually. I won't tell everybody. Well, I will tell everybody that we did try yesterday, but we had lots of technical difficulties.
Oh, the
Fortunately,
little
we haven't had them
gremlins,
this
those
evening.
little gremlins.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's been lovely to talk to you, Non.
And
I wish
you.
you all the best with everything for the future,
Thank
and
you.
hopefully I'll catch up with you at something this year.
Yeah,
And yeah, it's
that would
been
be brilliant. I'm
been
really
great
looking forward
talking to
to
you.
it. All right. Take care, Darren, and take care everybody else as well.
Cheers,
Thank
Non,
you.
and thank you all for watching. If you'd like to hit subscribe and subscribe to my channel and see the interviews as I do them, kind of thing, then please hit that subscribe now. Thank you very much. Good night.